What's up everybody, and welcome back to Shifting Gears. Today we'll be discussing the various game modes in Gears of War. This is the full 90-minute video, but if you'd prefer, I've got it broken down into 3 segments linked below. As always, I've got my personal thoughts typed up, linked in a document below. But now, let's buckle up and enjoy the discussion. Alright, let's go ahead and hop in to introduce today's panel. We're just going to go around the room like we normally do. So I guess, Typo, we'll start with you.
Oh boy. I didn't want you to start with me, but okay. So hi, my name's John. People call me Typo. That actually helps out a whole lot because I work with way too many Johns currently. But yeah, Typographic. Been around for a little while. Been playing Gears since Gears 1, but I was more of a Halo kid, so I really didn't start paying attention to Gears until kind of late Gears 2, sadly. But it's kind of to my benefit though, because then I got like all the Gears 3 like beta stuff in, and so I really like had a lot of fun during that scene. Favorite game type, definitely an FFA, which has only really been in one Gears game, but that's really my favorite game mode in any game. So that'd be nice to see future edition potentially.
Yep. All right, Chris, we'll go over to you now.
Hi everyone, my name is Chris. I go by Modded Talent on YouTube, Twitter, and I think those are the only social media handles I'm really on. I've been playing Gears since the first Gears game came out, so a long time, and I'm a very big execution player, so that's my bread and butter, but I do enjoy playing almost all of the different game types that have been in Gears.
All right, and I guess Dodger will finish with you.
Yep. Kyle, fellow Blue Dodger, part of the Tac-Com crew, kind of. I don't know. I'm back now. I've been playing since December 2006, so just a month after the release of Gears 1. I was Assassination player, Guardian player, but I have to say, like right now, Dodgeball is my favorite game type of all time. So, yeah.
And I am, just like Dodger, started in December of 2006, and Dodgeball is my favorite game type.
And we're also part-time semi-professional Easter egg hunters.
Yes. Let's see. So I don't really have a big spiel to go through this time, like a big introduction thing. So really, I've got a list of all the game types that are currently in Gears 4. So we'll go through those, and then we'll go through some of the game types that have been in past games, and then we'll talk about some future game types. So let's hop in with the big one for esports right now, and that is Escalation. Have you guys played that much? I know, Chris, you play that a lot, probably, right? The competitive player.
I played it enough, but it's one of the things where like the gripes I have with it aren't so much that it's based around hills. It's more just the players themselves, I guess, the ones that just get in there to quit out. Like they really make the whole experience pretty non-competitive because it's just no fun. Playing like a 2v5 or something like. Whenever you can actually have like 2 teams that are stacked, really caring and trying within the game mode, I think that's when it definitely plays its best. But that's really for any mode, though. It's no fun just playing players that just aren't on the same level. But then it's also no fun when it's just a complete blowout every time too. So.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with Typo in terms of people quitting out. That's one of the game types where just like it ruins you, it crushes you, kind of like King of the Hill. But that aside, even when players stay in. I think Escalation is a great game type, and clearly the Gears community likes it and people get into it. But, just as somebody who plays competitively online with a lot of my friends, it's a huge time commitment. Like running at least 20 to 40 minutes, I'd say, is a good kind of frame. And it's just a lot to commit to. So it's a great game type, but kind of itching for something that's competitive and maybe doesn't take as long, because I feel like Gears for me is about those bite-sized matches that you can kind of hop in for 10 minutes. So Good addition, but kind of hoping to see something else along the competitive lines.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of the feedback that I've heard from the community is that we kind of wish that it could be a little shorter. I mean, just for the sake that you're saying, like for me, I like the bite sizes of about 15 minutes, 20 minutes if things are going crazy. Like Halo used to have CTF matches that could last forever, but for the most part, they still capped out at like 30 minutes. Somebody would get a cap, and so it once it starts getting longer than that, like from a console esports perspective and viewers perspective, like it just doesn't seem to really work as well as those 10, 12, 15-minute games. And so you're right, it's like a huge time commitment on top of just getting the players that you want to play with, because if you go in like with even just two guys that are really good, you can find success, but as soon as it starts to not go your way, the players drop out, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, great, we just wasted 30 minutes of our time, we're going to take this L. It's not very fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that game type was developed around like that competitive, high level of play mindset.
Right.
And I mean, so it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of teamwork involved in it. Do you think that's kind of taken away from like the casual player experience? Like, have you seen
the cordial?
The cordials. Have you seen many like casual players go into escalation and actually enjoy it? I don't see that many people go in there unless they're like a dedicated like escalation player.
Yeah.
I'll play with viewers from time to time who aren't exactly in the competitive mindset as me with escalation, and I'm curious to know whether they enjoy it or not. But I will say I kind of get the sense that people who are more casual don't actually really understand how to properly play the game type, because there's actually a lot that goes into it. Like, I'm not saying that they're incapable of understanding or whatnot, but there's just so many different elements to juggle where something like CTF is kind of simple. It's like get their flag and defend your flag, but with 3 hills rotating, increase spawn timers and all the weapons,
it's complex mode.
Yeah, it's tough.
Defend your main hill, capture their main hill.
Yeah, like the thing I see a lot of casual players when they do try and mess with the mode, what I see them doing is they get like in a fight, and then there's just kind of not a lot of movement from them and like what they should be pushing next. Like it's very obvious that you need to go for the 3 cap, but a lot of times players are like, okay, I just clutched a 1v2 and I'm just going to kind of sit here now and not really like immediately start pushing their spawn and trying to put pressure on them as they're coming out of spawn and trying to push a 3 cap. Like
I see two groups. I see like the person who decides I'm just going to be a home hill player and they sit there and do that. But then I think what Dodger was getting at is it seems circular almost.
Like, hey, we got we just captured 2 hills, but still 5v5. Let's push their main hill. Yeah.
Right.
It's you get a kill. Let's go to this hill. Oh, they took our other one. Let's go to that. And it just
it's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But I mean, so that'd be something interesting to see, like in the comments below. When this goes up on YouTube, is if you are a more casual player, what are your views on escalation? If you don't play it, why don't you play it? Is there anything else that you guys have about escalation, or should we move on?
I mean, like for the game type itself, I have no problem, but just in the competitive scenery, I just don't like how it's the only game type. My preference is just that because, like you said, like escalation takes way too long. If a best of 3 or a best of 5, I think the last game should just be execution. Just kind of, I don't know, just to mix things up a bit and kind of have that sudden death type of feel.
Yeah, I do like the way the game moves from like a King of the Hill type start to the end or the later rounds are more execution based.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But yeah, it does take a while, and especially like at an esports event, you're just sitting there watching 20-minute matches forever. By the end of the event, you're just like dead, and it's hard to watch.
Well, it's kind of like a 2 schools of thought sort of thing. So like looking at Halo 3, we had a lot of different game modes, and the nice thing about that was you couldn't just say like, yeah, we're a Slayer team and we just outslay everybody and that's it, period. You can't touch us, and that's all of the deciding factor, and that's all that matters, like you could outslay. Like I've seen people win like 50-30 and like 50-27 and stuff like that, but then they come into like a respawn King of the Hill or an oddball and they just can't play objective well. They might overslay. Like really there's no sense in like when you overslay a team that you still lose the objective. Like that's always kind of been the mindset, is like, how do we outslay them but still lose? And so a lot of that comes down to the teamwork and making those like sacrificial, selfless plays and knowing when best to like throw the oddball off the map and other stuff that can help reset and like benefit your team. All that comes into like a deeper thought of play, and so it's like you have to be skilled at multiple things, and so you have to be just a really well-versed team across multiple game modes to really like crown yourself a champion at the end of the weekend. And so like when we come into the mindset of like Gears, it starts to look a lot more like a League of Legends. And not to like knock on that community or anything, because I mean, it's obviously a tried and true model and it's adored by millions of people across the globe. It's just like, there's one map, there's one mode, and the cool thing about that is the fact of like how many different champions that you can run and like the different strategies that you can meld from that. But it doesn't really work as it starts to translate over to like escalation, and we have like this 40-minute long game type where it's still just shooting and killing, which is still like really basic, and so you have to like start to add different incentives to the map, like, oh, we can place an instant here and that's going to change everything up, sort of deal. And it doesn't really seem to play that way. It's almost like more times people would put a really powerful weapon on the map, and then that starts to just shift a fight from like one area of the map to the other, which then we rotate so quickly in Gears, like it still plays so fast that it kind of doesn't really matter. And or we just block it off and it's just like, all right, well now we're basically playing Slayer because I don't have anything placed on the map, and now it just comes down to who can out shotgun me. And so it's I don't know, it's not as deep as it could be, but at the same time it's like extremely complex. And so I think like as a casual player looking at it, it's like, oh hey, I kind of enjoy what I'm seeing, but I don't really fully understand like everything that's going on, and so I'm gonna try it with a friend. Oh, I got a group of quitters, I'm just not gonna play this anymore. And so that kind of negates all the, hey, let's make these players come play our mode and then hopefully they'll aspire to be pros, because it's just they're asking for a lot.
Yeah.
So if they're good, go ahead.
I was gonna say, also in the esports thing, you only see like 4 maps really played all the time.
Yeah,
that gets
Foundation, Dam, Forge, sometimes
Lift.
Yeah.
So if they were to bring escalation into Gears 5, what do you think should change? It sounds like we're all saying the score limit or the time the game takes. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I was thinking about this too, because I definitely think they should keep escalation. It definitely has a place in the game. But because of it being such a huge time commitment, in my head, for some reason, I think that winning an execution game, it would be less valuable compared to an escalation game, because it's just like so much longer. And I don't know exactly if that's the only reason I think that way. So I don't know. I think maybe altering the amount of rounds it takes, because potentially going to around, 13 or something. That's kind of crazy. So if they could just figure out a way to reduce the amount of rounds, that would make it a lot more bearable, and then you could add in those other game types to force teams to show you really how dynamic they can be.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think limiting or decreasing the amount of rounds would help it a whole lot. Just because it's not so much of an ask for a casual player at home. Like, yeah, you have the potential to sit here for an hour. It's like, or I could play like 5 games of King of the Hill and, or whatever the mode may be. Like, it's one of those things where like maybe before you are in a different state of life, where like you have kids and you have like a full-time job and all those other things, like you have a lot of time to play games. But for me, like I'm in a situation where I don't have a lot of time to play games, and so the last thing I want to do when I hop on Gears is sit down for an hour and only play one match. I want like a couple warm-up matches. I want to get through at least a few things where I can be like, yeah, I dropped like 3 30, 40 kill games tonight. That was kind of fun. Instead of like, yeah, I played one match and then we lost in the end because everybody quit.
Yep.
Can you change the round times in custom? Because I never played escalation in custom.
I don't think you can. I know the Coalition tried doing I think it was core tuning first to 5 event, and something went wrong with it. They had to revert it back to its normal settings. They said they're going to try it again in the future, I think. But it's something it sounds like they're toying with to try to bring people in.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's see. Moving on to the other side of competitive play, we've got the classic execution, and let's throw Warzone into this bucket as well. They're pretty much the same thing.
Whoa.
All right, let's start right off the bat. Should Warzone return in future titles?
Ooh, who wants to go first on this? Jeez.
I'll say
sure. Kill it, please. Kill it with fire.
Yeah, kill it.
I don't think it really has a purpose, because essentially Warzone is execution, but you can kill people from really far on the map. And so it's like, oh, hey, this got replaced by TDM. Cool, let's just like negate this now. And so I don't think there's a reason for it to really exist anymore, especially since the fact that TDM is now in the game. So yeah, if you ask me, like, I don't know why it's still in our game at all.
I played Warzone in Gears 1 because I got tired of people down boosting in Gears 1 for score. Yeah. That's why I played Warzone. But now that that's not a problem anymore, I I've played like 5 matches of Warzone, and that was to get the achievement when the game first launched. Like,
Yeah.
and the player
Yeah.
population shows that as well. People don't care about it. It probably should not be returning.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I think we need to focus on consolidating playlists, and obviously Warzone and Execution are so similar, but Execution is more popular, and kind of like how they removed Arms Race. If it's just not there, I don't see the sense in creating more divisions in terms of player population. So yeah, I think Warzone, it was in the first gears, but its time is up, and I think we can get rid of it, and no one's gonna be too upset.
So, Dodger, agree, disagree?
I mean, Typo. No, I agree. Typo basically said it. TDM does take the role of Warzone basically, and it's more popular. Execution was more popular, so Warzone still has a special place in my heart. But it's not fun just to play with bots.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. So with that one out of the way, let's talk about that execution game mode. So, Chris, I think this is your go-to mode, right?
Yeah. So I know that everyone's major complaint is that there's no objective to play towards, and that sometimes that can lead to stalemates, and it's entirely true. I think that's something to consider in terms of if it's going to be in the competitive circle, because I don't think from a spectator's point of view it's smart to put a game type where things can just get stalematey and then you have the commentators talking about random things. But I still think it's a really fun game type. It's been a staple of Gears, and I think it's going to probably be in the next one, and I hope it stays. I think that I leave Execution as is, but focus more on, like you're saying, a bomb game type or something for the competitive sphere. So, yeah, it has its flaws, but leave it in there for all the hardcore people who have had it since the beginning.
Yeah.
Are you saying that you don't
enjoy
like Fallout or Blaze, just talking about random things?
Oh, no, I do. On the contrary, I just feel so terrible for them because they have to come up with 10 minutes of just random dialogue because people are just waiting for the last 30 seconds to rush in Execution. But they're great.
I agree. I definitely think Execution should be in the next game, but I disagree with the fact that it shouldn't change. I don't think you would need a big change, but I think it would be for the better. If any of you guys have played Destiny or Trials of the Osiris within Destiny, the kind of quote-unquote competitive mode, it's essentially Execution, man. You have rounds, you slay out the other team, and that's it. I mean, the nice thing about it is whenever it gets to a certain point in the map, a neutral objective will appear, and you can cap that objective or you can kill somebody as they're trying to take the objective, and then that, you move on to your next round. It decides a winner. It's very rare that you get a stalemate necessarily or a tie within that, but it can happen, but it's extremely rare. Not like in the sense that we see within Gears, especially like in Gears 3 competitive, where you put money on the line. Players start to play very differently because it's like one kill can decide the fate of X amount of money between first and second, and so all of a sudden nobody wants to be that guy that dies in the now it's a snowball effect of like a 4v3, and so essentially if you can at least make it to where the game mode still has that high intensity of play. We love to see the strategy that goes between the rotating around the map and players executing something for a particular weapon, like, oh, we're going to grab torque and then we're going to rotate over to here. I think it's a very distinct style of game mode that I would love to see return in competitive play. It needs to be changed up so that it can actually be tournament viable.
Yeah. So just so I understand the distinction, because I don't actually play too much Destiny. Are you saying, let's say you're in an execution round and after 2 minutes some sort of objective pops up on the map,
a King of the Hill ring will spawn in the middle of the map after a certain time, and
whoever caps it wins.
And is it supposed to be randomly placed on the map?
No, it's just central, gridlock boom shot every time.
It's always central.
So Foundation would probably be like that pillar between boom shot and torque. Or boom shot.
Maybe this is just me being resistant because I've had it for so long, and I'm open to trying that in a different game type. But I can't help but feel that if you do something like that, then you might just have kind of repetitive strategies that are always focused around, where that hill spawns. That's predetermined every time.
And that's a good point. But I mean, at the same time, you don't really want to have it random central locations.
Right. Exactly, because it's symmetrical maps.
Yeah, I mean, look at the correlation with a random hill spawn and how you get hill shafted essentially in PUBG. You know, like you can be in a great position and all of a
Fortnite.
sudden the hill rotates. Now you're in a bad position while you have to go to
Right.
because it's random. And so if you always know where it is, then at least you're like, okay, well, I'm now forcing a 1v1 fight with this guy. I can't sit back. He's just going to cap it. But at the same time, you don't necessarily have to push the hill. Like if you have a boom or you have something like a long shot, like you can let them attempt to cap the hill, or you can still take them out. You know, like there's still multiple ways in which it can play out. But I think the fact that ultimately it's just going to come down to, well, there's 20 seconds on the clock. Neither of these guys want to push each other because money's on the line. So we're just going to sit here and watch paint dry. Like I would much rather not watch paint dry.
No, I take your point, but that's why I was saying to exclude execution from the pro circuit. I'd be open to trying the game type, but I still just think it would need to be tested because I do see the potential for the same kind of repetitive plays and the some parts of the map becoming obsolete just because the hill is never around there. So open to trying it. It's a good suggestion. Execution is flawed. There's no question.
The big thing I liked about execution, watching that like on the competitive level in Gears 3, was that there were so many rounds and all the teams had various strats out the door. So it was a lot of seeing those strats right away, as opposed to Escalation is right now they have a strat they set up and then they still have their strats and how they want to rotate and stuff, but it's a lot less obvious from the viewer's perspective. So I like seeing all of those strats in execution, and I would somewhat worry about what Chris is bringing up is if you know that ring is going to be at a certain spot, that's going to influence a lot of the strats, and they're going to want to focus on making sure that they can set up in a way that if it does get to a stalemate, they can have position for it.
But like one of those strats, unfortunately, is all right. 3 of us are going to push this fight 3v4, and you run the other way because in the event this doesn't work out for us in this push, we still want you to be alive so you can still make the round.
Yeah.
And so like anytime you have to essentially have that strat, there's an obvious like this is flawed for a reason, and that essentially is why it's not played, right?
And well, one thing about Destiny 2 is I think one of the reasons it works really well there is there's no weapons. At least I haven't played Destiny 2, but Destiny 1 there's no weapons on the map. So all of your map positioning is based around what you think the best parts of the map are. If you know there's going to be a ring, you can try and position for that. That ring isn't taking you away from going after a boom. Maybe if they did something in Gears 3, they would say, okay, we'll put a neutral ring after 2 minutes, but it's going to be on the opposite side of the map as boom. So you can either try and get that good map positioning right off the start, or you can push boom and try to get those kills.
Yeah,
it's also a lot faster in Destiny. You can move around the map. I mean, at least it's a Titan. You can move a lot faster.
Yeah, well, it's because of the fact that we can actually jump over pieces of the map that we're walled off to within Gears. So
I'd definitely be interested to see how that goes, though.
Yeah.
And I think that's also something that, I mean, if you go online and you talk to people about what would you like to see change in execution, it's pretty universal that that's one of the things that comes up. Let's see. Let's move on from those two and talk about TDM for a bit. The game type, some people say, like, killed Gears. Other people say it saved Gears. People say it killed it because it brought, like, a ton of people over to TDM, and it's taking away from all the other game types.
Mr. Steal Your Girl. Yep.
But, I mean, at the same time, I don't play it that much. I like Dodgeball, but, I mean, I love playing TDM. It's a lot of fun. But it has its downsides, especially with the spawn camping issues. I think we can all agree it's going to return in future titles. Are there any changes you guys would like to see to it?
Well, I guess you alluded to it. Just a better spawning system. You know, it doesn't have to be completely chaotic, but just some options, because spawn camping and spawn trapping does become an option, and it literally can get to the point where the other team has 18 spawns left and you're down to 3 or 4, and you're just thinking, well, should that be possible? But I think TDM is a great game type. I love at the end how, you know, you get your own life, so your teammates, you know, they can eat up all the lives except for that one, and you kind of have that Gears feel. So other than spawns changing, I think it's a pretty basic game type, and they've done well with it.
Yeah, like, so Typo, you're big on Halo, so I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on this. I really like the Gears, like, this is how many lives you have and you run out of lives, as opposed to
Right.
what Judgment did or what Halo does, where it's first team to get this many kills. What
Yeah.
do you prefer? Do you think one is better for Gears?
I think the style in which they do for Gears is fine. You're right, it is a swap. We're counting up and now we're counting down. I think that's maybe a lot of people's initial frustration that goes away too after 3-4 games of getting used to it. They're like, oh, okay, it just essentially turns into like execution. I think that's fine, and I think it's very Gears-y,
Yeah.
But I don't really have an issue with that. I do definitely agree that the major issue is the spawns and just the dedicated areas in which we spawn. They're just so obvious. Like, yep, one team spawns here every round, one team spawns there. Oh, you flipped them, and so there's not a lot of like median. You can spawn mid map, you can spawn quarter up from your initial. Like, there's just not a lot of extra areas in which we can spawn, and I think that kind of kills it because then of course the camping comes into it, and then that's essentially like why we have such a crazy amount of invincibility off of spawn. I mean, it's insane. Like in Gears 3, we could push out of checkout like all the way practically to mid map or like to that first box before your spawn ability would go away. And it's like I could be just peppering somebody like full speed, just runs right at me, and I just get chunked because they have invincibility the entire time, and that's insane. Because like coming from Halo, like you don't get that. As soon as you spawn, if you're getting spawn trapped, your goal is to learn how to shoot out of it. Like that's just part of learning the game and being a better player and essentially learning how to award yourself out of a bad situation. And so you just have to deal with it. Like if you come off a 10-second respawn, you spawn and then you get sniped, like guess what, you're on 10-second respawn again, and then that leads to the exciting elements of like, okay, if we're on the pit, I just got wave killed again, now they're pulling our flag, how are we going to retake this flag? And so a lot of communication and like if you were to hear like a lot of the comms from players during those moments, like it's really cool to see how frantic they get and how just they either fall apart or like they're really calm in the situation and they can work together to be like, okay, this sucks, they pulled our flag, but like we can run this route and we can still make a way to maybe stop this pull. And all of a sudden it's like I don't know, I feel like we're missing a lot of that depth because of the fact that we have such a crazy limitation on like where our players spawn and how long that spawn influence is. So
yeah. Dodger, anything to add on TDM?
No, just keeping it like the counting down part. I mean,
I think that's very
just
Gears-ish, having those clutch moments, the
Yeah.
clutch factor in there.
Gears
and for the
3
record,
dry-
I don't
Gears 3 dry-
think TDM killed anything.
No.
I think it definitely added to the
Mhm.
game.
I would
Yeah, I
agree.
agree.
Yep.
Yep.
Let's see. One of the most popular game modes, it seems right now, is King of the Hill. So let's throw King of the Hill and all of its variants. So Blitz, Gears 1, Gears 2, Gears 3 style King of the Hill all together.
Yeah.
I guess to start off, the big question is standing in the hill to cap or just cap and then you can leave? What's your preference on that?
For me, it's standing in the hill because I think there was an issue with Gears 3 where you could have people cap the hill and then they set up around the hill. And I think if you are required to have at least one player in the hill, that gives the other team a chance to kind of take the hill back because at least one of your players is going to be exposed in a crappy position. So, and I thought that's how King of the Hill is supposed to work, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I think.
No, I 100% agree. Really, Blitz is like a mad experiment that came from me and a few other people being very vocal about exactly that. Because like Halo King of the Hill has always been dependent on you have one person in the hill. And I can't tell you how many times on Old Town specifically, I've grabbed Boom, I've come to the top of the map, I've tried to shoot over to that hill that would spawn kind of over there by Gorgon and all that. And so anyways, I would shoot Boom like into the hill because I just saw like a player there and they rolled out back towards Torque or something. I'd shoot Boom into hill and I would land it right in the hill and get no kills, and I'm like, man, I could have tried to maybe save that game because I would have at least known I could have got a guaranteed kill there. But there's no one there because they're just all set up around it. It's still ticking away points and my teammates are just feeding. And so I agree, there should be a player in the hill if you're going to call it King of the Hill.
Yep.
All right, so we're pretty much all in agreement on that.
Literally, I just had a thought right now. What if the more people you have in the hill, the faster points you can get? I would just because
Yeah,
like you said, like you can risk that 5 people. Then like, but what if the other team has a boom shot and they get a Quinn, just like that?
I think it's
That
an
was a
interesting idea.
That was a custom game that they did a lot in Halo. There's a lot of crazy things you can do within their customs, which is one thing really I wish Gears had more options of and give us more
yeah.
fun ways
I
to
think
play
we're
the game.
probably gonna do like an entire video dedicated to
Yeah, I
that
feel like
because
there's a lot that
so
we
much.
could have
Mhm.
been given as a community to create a similar sort of atmosphere around our customs, because really people didn't play a lot of customs outside of just scrims, and so um, I definitely think it's an interesting idea. I don't think it would really work, in competitive, but I think it would be something that we could definitely throw into like a fun weekend playlist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Another cool thing I saw recently was there's a mod for Halo 3 or Halo Online that was a unreleased Russian game. Anyways, people were on pit playing King of the Hill, and when you spawn, you're like this tall, and then when you get in the hill, you like take up like 12 feet, or well, I guess a Spartan's 7 feet. Gosh, you take up like 30 feet. You're ginormous. Like you can't even walk underneath the bridge because your character model collides with it. And it was funny because like everything you do too, it looks like you do animation slower. So like when you go to throw a grenade, you're like super slow mo to throw the nade, and then all the little tiny people are like dancing around super fast and they're hard to hit and strafe and everything. I just think there's a lot of creative utility that we could have if we were given the freedom and the options to do
Yeah.
that as a community.
Did you guys play the Gears 4 Blitz event that they had?
I don't think I did.
I was unable to.
So
But I
essentially,
wanted to.
yeah, essentially what it was is hills, hill points drained really quickly, and the hills rotated really quickly. So essentially, each team, when the hill rotated, they got their pretty much just one push to try and see who can get that hill, and they get those points off of it. I I don't know if I'd like to see that as a permanent game type. A lot of people said they would, but I had a lot of fun playing it. It it seemed kind of like we keep going back to Halo, but what was it called, MVP in Halo
Uh-huh.
or whatever, whereas you have to get your leader to that hill. It seemed really cool just seeing, all right, how many
Okay.
hills can you rack up? Like, your team needs to be the first one to dominate this hill. Once it's dominated, a new timer starts on a new hill type thing.
Interesting. So was it a random rotation too, or was it set?
No, I think it was like the set King of the Hill rotation.
Okay, so like it just moved like A B C every time.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
cool.
I do think it would be interesting to have, like, all right, once a team holds this hill for 10 seconds, they get a point on the board. All right, now there's going to be a new hill that spawns. You have 20 seconds to go set up before that one spawned, but you know it's going to be over
Yeah.
in this location. I think something like that would be interesting. Like an interesting play on King of the Hill.
There was a game mode. If you guys played Ghost Recon Future Soldier, there was a game mode within their set of like 6 modes, because basically the way it worked was you had one mode and there were like many objectives within each, but one of them that could occur is called a HVT, or high value target, where basically one person is the guy you have to kill, but to win that round, you have to escort him to one part of the map. And that could be cool, like if you were playing in a King of the Hill style, where it's like, hey, one guy is now designated like the guardian or whatever, or
Yeah.
the person that you have to
Only
push
he can
into
cap
that.
the hill.
And if only he can cap the hill, sort of thing. And if you can push him in there, then you're gaining time. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of neat things I think we could do with it.
Yeah. God, I'm just thinking about future video on private match options discussion thing, and there's just so
Yeah.
much we
Yeah.
could talk about there.
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's also a slippery slope with private match options, because the problem you will see inevitably is that if you give people too much control over the options, then it'll become a thing where the competitive players will want certain changes to exist only in their style of play that will not want to be used across the board. And so, like, a good example would be, you know what, it'd be good if the guns did 110% damage rather than 100% damage. We think that would actually be the sweet spot. But then that changes up the entire game. It's almost like, having 2 weapon balances.
Oh wow.
But regardless, yeah, I think it's a slippery slope. You have to be really cautious about the options you do give us as players, but I think it's in the benefit of the community for sure. But we can do a whole video on that. I'm
Yeah.
totally down.
All right. Let's move on to Guardian. We kind of talked about leaders a little bit there. Guardian, obviously, huge success in Gears 2. Gears 3 introduced leader vision, which was sort of controversial. They scaled back leader vision a lot in Gears 4. Obviously, I'm not too happy with the spawn system in Gears 4. I see what they were trying to do, but I'm not a huge fan of it. What do you guys think about Guardian?
Why are they gold?
Okay, yeah, that's probably a huge one.
That's
Come on, TC, really? You're gonna spray paint our leaders?
Yeah. I honestly haven't played Guardian a ton in Gears 4, but I think that's because of the fact of, honestly, the weapon balances. It has pushed me away from playing a lot of things that I wish I probably would have spent more time with. But I will definitely say my favorite mode in Gears 2 is Guardian. Outside of, competitively playing like Execution and whatnot, but I love playing Guardian in my downtime. It was a lot of fun. I loved being a Guardian that pushed people a ton. Like I just hated whenever you'd have one guy that would just kind of snowbird back and like, all right, you guys go protect me. Like, no, dude, I'm just gonna push him, kill the other Guardian in this right now. Like I like to be
river.
that. I like to be that really aggressive Guardian player.
And that's what they kind of are helping people do with this new spawn system. So you said you haven't played it much. The spawn system now is like you spawn based on where your leader
is, yeah,
on the map.
Okay.
So if your leader's more aggressive and you guys have map control, if your leader's pushing up, you guys will spawn mid-map as opposed to back at your base.
That's kind of rad.
Which
Almost
I
makes
think
you
it's a
wonder if
lot
they should
better.
do a TDM spawn the same sort of way.
it is way better than what they had at launch, where you spawned in your spawns and spawns never swapped or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm getting more used to it, but at the same time, and I like the idea of having your leader as a beacon. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it still allows for a team to just camp in their spawn and just have the match drag out, and it
makes sense.
It really blows.
Well, I think that's more of an issue of how long you're going to keep people off respawn for, because I think the spawn system is fine. I've been playing a bit of Guardian, and there's a few times where I'll go on the middle of the map and give my team a really good position because the other team is sitting back and they're just getting killed and killed and killed. And honestly, if the respawn timer was a little bit more delayed, then it wouldn't be too viable for their leader to just sit back and spawn. I think it starts off with a 20-second respawn delay if you die in Guardian, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think if another player dies, they just respawn when their buddy does. So I don't know. I think maybe just give everybody a hard penalty of 20 seconds, and that's probably going to provide you with a good window at some point to be able to push in. But moreover, for Guardian generally, I think it's just a great game type because it's a bit more laid back, fun, and casual, in my opinion, at least. And that's something that Gears is lacking, where, I feel like most of the game types you have to be prepared to play really hard to enjoy it. And, we're talking a lot about Halo here and all these great ideas for different variants of game types. You know what Gears needs is some sort of action sack where we have a bunch of different fun things to play.
That was fun.
I loved action sack.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'll start on Guardian first. So I didn't like the leader vision stuff that we got in Gears 3 like at all. I was like, okay, this is trash. I don't want to play this at all now. Like, it takes away from a lot of the skill it was to be aware, like your awareness of your surroundings. And I need to run right now. Like, I'm Guardian. There's 3 people chasing me. Like, we got to get out of here. Like I just don't think that really has a place for it in the game. Apparently, people feel differently of that.
I like the Gears 4 leader vision. It's so actually not many people know about this, but as the leader, if you bring up your overhead map, you can see not the enemy leader, but the 4 players on the other team. You can see them running around on your overhead map. So only the leader can see that.
Yeah,
it's kind of risky because you need to be in a spot where you're safe to open up your map and look at it, and you can't see the enemy leader. I kind of like that idea for leader vision.
Yeah,
I like it too, especially because it can be kind of boring. If you're going to be a good leader, your job is to stay alive, and sometimes it's boring because you have to sit back, and at least being able to look at your mini map and communicate with people gives you something to do. And like you said, it's not that overpowered. I've used it before. You're very vulnerable, and
you're the leader, and I can sit back there and say, hey, Chris, 2 people are running up the left side over here. Can you go take them out or something like that? You kind of can give direction as opposed to getting bored twiddling your thumbs.
You can be a leader.
You sent one of your guys to 1v2.
I don't know. I mean, I still kind of disagree, though. I disagree because of the fact that, I'm just used to players that are communicating a lot, and when they die, they're telling me what's happening. They're telling me exactly what they're picking up, where they're pushing. And so as a leader, like, it's still my job too to be like, okay, I just saw 2 guys run it. Boom. I know 2 guys are headed down this lane. Essentially, I need to rotate here, and then other people can confirm that, through callouts. And so I know like not all casual players play that way. So I can understand like how the leader vision being able to like communicate those things more easily to the people that are at least hopefully going to like want to win the game could be really beneficial. But I don't know. I guess I just ask a lot of players, to communicate with each other, and unfortunately, not all people do that.
Yeah, not when you're playing with randoms online.
But yeah, I completely forgot what I was going to say in regards to something mentioned about Halo, in like an action sack. But I do agree. I think like ultimately, if we had something more like that, that would be rad.
Yeah. Let's see. Hey, Dodger, you want to talk about dodgeball?
Best game type.
Yeah.
What was it? 2013 when. And yours was in 2012, I think.
Yeah, Dodger and I each made threads on the like old Gears forums, like describing dodgeball, saying, "Hey, we need this to be a mode." So when it was introduced or announced for Gears 4, both of us were extremely excited. But I love the mode right now. My biggest issue is spawning behind people. The spawn system really needs some work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if dodgeball had execution rules, I think it's a better version of execution. Now that I know that might, Chris, but I mean, it's just I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't know. Just getting that one,
a lot of fun.
Getting that 1v5, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's a 3v3 now. Just you just saved your team. And then doing it multiple times in a round.
One little like lever I'd like to see Coalition play around with is, so right now if I get a kill, one of my teammates gets to start respawning. But what if I got a kill and then stayed alive for another 2 or 3 seconds after that, then my teammate got to start respawning. So that if I essentially just went in and like suicide, I'm going to go kill myself, but also kill someone at the same time. It doesn't actually benefit my team at all. That's something I'd like to see toyed around with. And I think a big thing that would help is think about right at the beginning of the match, if there's like a trade or something at the beginning of the match.
True.
If I get the first kill and then the other guy kills me like a half second later, he gets to respawn and I'm out. I got the first kill, but now my team's down a man.
Yeah, it's a good point. That was something that always used to get under my skin a bit. The initial trade where it would actually be better to die second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so somebody gets in.
Yeah, that's crazy. Ultimately, I think it's probably the best new addition to the game. Excluding escalation and all that it is, but like in terms of like more core modes that we're used to seeing, I think it's like, yeah, that was a really good idea. And I'm really glad that you guys made it get in the game.
I don't know if they even saw our threads, but yeah, no, I'm glad that it's here. It's fantastic.
I think they had to to some degree. I mean, it's the same reason things like tournament and things are in the game. Like they pay attention to some great degree, but I think ultimately for me, it's just one of those hardcore casual modes that I can take a little more lightly, but I can still like go really hard in, and I can try to wipe a whole squad or get my whole team back, and then all of a sudden they're stuck in a 1v5 or whatever. Like I enjoy how it plays a whole lot.
I feel like it has that perfect balance of like it can be really intense and competitive, but at the same time there are respawns and you can play casually and you're cheering for your teammates like, oh, come on, get this kill so that I can spawn back in. Because when I play ranked, I'm pretty much playing dodgeball and like I'm communicating with my team a lot, but I still really enjoy it when I'm playing social and the dodgeball comes up and we're just chilling, having a good time.
Yeah, it's like a perfect marriage between execution and TDM for me, because you don't have to value your life so much that you're gonna have to put your controller down and find something to do for 4 or 5 minutes. But at the same time, like Dodger was saying, you do get those clutch opportunities. So I think it's an excellent mode, and probably doesn't get as much appreciation as maybe it deserves. But I'm happy it's in, and should pretty much come back.
And for like those certain execution players that just like to run in and get as many kills as possible. I mean, if you just die in the first part, it's a good likely chance that you'll come back because you're the first one to respawn.
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
Update me on the respawning, like if I get a kill but then I die immediately, like that's still it, right? Like the round isn't gonna come back.
Yeah.
If everyone's
if,
dead,
if everyone's dead,
it's over. It doesn't matter if someone's on the timer to come
Right,
back
but
in.
like if I get a kill, there's still a timer aspect to it where like,
Yes,
oh, he
but
would have
if
come
you
back if
die-
I would have stayed alive a little
there
longer.
there's
right?
a specific ribbon for that too.
Yeah, it's like you were about to respawn, but the round ended.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I'm kind of on the fence about how that plays. I kind of feel like I should just be awarded with, hey, I tagged my teammate in. Like this isn't over, but unfortunately it is just based on how.
So like
I
instant
like that.
respawn, or just allow them to respawn for
Well,
like
I think
5 seconds?
respawn. I think respawn instantly would be a bad thing because you have to think of like how the spot on the map. Because if spawns are already kind of an issue and you're gonna spawn right behind people and stuff, I wouldn't want them to just appear solely because I chunked someone. Like I would still like, but the allow them to respawn. Like okay, a kill was awarded, therefore we can't quite say this is over.
That's something they actually changed in Guardian as well. Is it used to be in Gears 2 and I think 3 as well. If you were on the clock to respawn, and
You did respawn.
and your team
At
wiped,
some time.
there would be a few seconds where no one on your team is on the map, and then you'd spawn in and have that one last chance. In Gears 4, if your whole team's dead, even if you're on the clock to respawn, the game's over.
It's a bit different with dodgeball though versus the Guardian thing there. I think honestly the reason why it's like, oh, you have to stay alive for 5 seconds is because I think it could drag on a bit more, and having them have to stay alive for 5 seconds really, in my opinion, cleans out the end of the round so the game can keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Because imagine if there's just trades and then you got to go hunting for another guy, trade again, and rinse repeat. So I'm a fan that they actually require you to stay alive for some time.
I wouldn't mind them toying with that lever and let us play with it and see what it's like, but I think I'd agree with Chris where I like the way it is right now.
Put dodgeball in competitive.
Fix spawns, then put dodgeball in competitive.
There was a lot of talk, at the beginning of the game, but then I think ultimately everybody was like, nah, this would take forever. Like, it would just drag out. But then it's funny, though, because they say it would take forever, but then, like, we have a game that takes forever.
Yeah.
So it's a best of 5, and all 5 games went to around 13. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So for
2 days.
The most casual of game modes added for Gears 4, we have the last one, Arms Race.
Clearly the best game type in the game.
So I actually enjoy Arms Race. I loved Master at Arms and Judgment, and I think Master at Arms worked really well. I think making it to a team aspect where there's downs and stuff, it just doesn't work very well. I still enjoy it, but yeah, I don't think I should return.
I was going to say, I'll chime in on this because, okay, first of all, Free For All needs to come back, and obviously Master of Arms was a lot of fun. There's a lot of issues that Arms Race has, even though it's supposed to be a fun, casual kind of game type. In Master at Arms, you'd have a bunch of different players at different stages, which made it really fun because there's a lot of different weapons and kind of encounters you'd come across. But then you play Arms Race and your team has a bunch of hammer bursts and you're against a bunch of snipers and it's just not fun, and the respawns, the downing and the respawns, massive issues. So, it's a good idea to try something new like that, but it didn't fit, didn't work, and it's clear they took it out.
That's actually kind of a good point you just brought up, was the fact that whenever, we get a set amount of kills, we all move to a new wave of guns. But like in Master at Arms, you didn't. You personally were, moving forward as you got kills. So like, what if there was a team mode that was like, if I just slay everything and I've got 12 kills on the board, you're still stuck with a hammer burst, but I've got a rocket officer or and so that would maybe be pretty cool. And because it's still one of those things where like so say like Dodger and I were in a situation where he had a hammer burst and I had rockets, but like I'd still be able to trade that with him. Like would I be able to walk up to him, offer him the gun, and then like even though I'm the one like getting the kills, because like then it could be cool. Maybe I could like dole out weapons to my like lesser skilled teammates.
Strategic, yeah.
I
think it's worth a try.
That'd be interesting. Or
that could be.
I'm
really
just picturing like a Wingman or like Brothers to the End style one.
That would
be
like really cool.
2v2v2v2, and you guys all do that.
Once again, like this is why we need Action Stack, because clearly we have like so many ideas that would be kind of fun to try and doesn't really deserve a permanent playlist, but you throw that all in one playlist and there you go. You don't have to.
One thing I will
play Gears
that they did extremely well in Arms Race, and Epic did it really well in Master at Arms as well is the order of the weapons is designed in a wonderful way such that, like, in some games you have a mode like this where if you're the team that gets like the first couple kills, you can just start blasting ahead and dominating the match. They really made it so that if you get the first few kills, you're probably going to stay ahead in the match, but you get less and less powerful, so the other team has a chance to catch up to you somewhat. Mm-hmm. The way they designed that, that was really well done.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, one of the few type of game types that Judgment, I think, did better than another numbered Gears. Yeah, because Master at Arms was so much better, and then you ended with Cleaver.
Cleaver.
Which, yeah.
It's so funny. It's like you run around a corner and there's a guy with a cleaver, and you're just like, and you don't have like, let's say you have like the marks or something, you can't do that much damage to him, and he's just like chasing after you. You can't stop because once you stop, he's just gonna swing at you.
Yeah,
you're just like running for your life.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's like some weapons within Master at Arms and Arms Race that just shouldn't be there. They're literally just there because it's like we need one for this stage. Yeah. You know, like, well, this is just the next progression, so we're just gonna all stick you with this. And I don't know, there's just some that like I don't think are very fun to run around with on the map, or to be put in a situation where, you know, like you said, like Hammerverse versus 4 guys with snipes, like it's just really tough to kind of slay out of that situation, and it kind of snowballs. But like you could probably condense it down, because there's obviously weapons that you get to use in like certain parts of like campaign and whatnot that should probably just be specific to that. I don't need those to like come up in a random game mode in multiplayer, and now it's deciding if I'm going to win or lose because I've never really touched it before, you know, or whatever.
So we've kind of hit on free for all a little bit. I think we've covered all of the past game modes, or all of the game modes in Gears 4. Let's move on. Let's talk about the past game modes from previous games that are not in Gears 4. Let's start with the big one, which is free for all. Like, are we all in agreement that free for all needs to make a return?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think people argue with it, but I think the reasons are important too. You know, like for instance, I think all the game types in Gears 4 right now, like ideally you want to be in a party of 5. You know, I think we need some different kind of playlist party sizes. Free for all is so simple. You just go in by yourself. Brothers to the Ender Wingman, very nice. You have a buddy, you go into it. Very easy, very fun. So it just adds variety. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on? Obviously, Judgment didn't have DBNO. If free for all is to return, should DBNO be included?
I don't think so. I think it would just kind of be an unnecessarily hassle to clean up your kills, you know, and then slow it down a bit. So personally,
I agree. I don't think DBNO should be in there. But one thing that has kept popping into my mind is weapons are tuned and balanced for the game based on the fact that there is a DBNO. I'm wondering how much that would throw off the balance in a free-for-all where you can't go down. So I definitely agree that FFA should be in the game.
And I definitely agree with the fact that, you know, there's a lot of solo queue players that, you know, can't play a mode like Escalation because they don't have anybody to play with, or there's a lot of duo queues where, you know, you have people that would love to play like a Brothers to the End style mode, just 2v2s. Those are a lot of fun, and they're searching for something to play, but they're stuck where they have to get in a situation of playing a 5v5 or like everything. Yeah. And so I think like from a population standpoint, you need more modes or more hoppers with like less like required amount of players. But then when you think about like FFA and the fact that Judgment didn't have DBNO, it's one of those situations where like I was fine with it in that game, but as I think a lot, because I've played countless hours of FFAs from like Halo 2 and Halo 3, it's one of those situations where it comes down to player knowledge and skill of like what fights to pick and what fights to like just not shoot at, you know? And so it's not benefiting me if I'm trying to Lancer or Marxa or, you know, down someone halfway across the map in FFA if I can't finish the kill. You know, I'm just helping the other guy out in that 1v1 situation they're in. And so it's a situation where it's like, oh, hey, I helped that guy down him, but, you know, I'm not going to get rewarded for it. That's your fault.
You see, I disagree with this, like, because there's an opportunity to just remove down but not out. If there's downs, it's going to devolve into a shotgun fest where people are going to think, okay, it's pretty much only going to be to my benefit to go in and shotgun. And some people love that, but I think that there's lots of guns in the game, and that players, if they're good with the marks, should be rewarded with a long-range kill when they put enough damage on somebody, and that the down is just going to be an unnecessarily frustrating thing that players have to factor into.
I think they should be awarded with a long-range kill if it is a headshot.
Well, what if they have a Lancer? They're never going to get a long-range kill if they have a Lancer or Hammer Burst or what have you. And I still think they should be rewarded for it.
There's a lot of people who are just going to be playing for that down. Like, if you have a long shot, there's going to be a lot of people who are, I'm not going to risk missing this headshot. I'm just going to wait for this other dude to down the guy so that I can take it right away.
And you know how the Gears community is all about steal killing or kill killing.
Steal killing.
Yeah, but I mean that's also like the whole point of FFA is like you get in a situation and sometimes you get lucky and you get the kill. Other times you turn the corner and you wipe up an easy triple. You know, like that's just part of the mode. And so like I don't really mind if there's a down in the game personally. Like I might after playing it and be like, yeah, this is a really bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about this all day and debated, but it really
but yeah, I think it's one of those situations where it's like you as the player, you're smart enough to know like, hey, I probably shouldn't shoot that guy because I'm probably not going to get an actual reward from it.
Yeah.
I should probably just get closer, and I'm not saying you have to use a shotgun because you can make anybody look stupid with a Lancer if you know how to chainsaw. Like, I mean, you know, just to speak to Optic for a little bit, they did that in competitive play. You know, like they just had a chainsaw round and it was hilarious.
That was
like,
pretty funny.
You know, it's still one of those things where like you have to know what fights to pick and what fights to just not. And so I don't see
that's only true if it's in the mode, which I just don't think it has to be. Like, you know, revives or downs exist in the game so that players can get revived by their teammates. In free for all, you don't have teammates, ergo there should be no downs.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I'd be curious to try it out both ways.
That's fair. I would
lean towards no DBNO, but I would be curious to see how it plays.
I think if it comes back into the game, then you just need as simply as a toggle of downs, no downs within the game mode, like in your custom game settings, and you just let the community kind of decide on it, and then you take the vocal majority of that and be like, yeah, DBNO, you know, and so
Gears 5 beta.
Gears 5 beta. Honestly, do a few days with it, a few days without it.
Yeah.
All right. On the topic of free for all, it's those solo queue players. You go in now. Say Chris and I want to play together. Wingman and Guardian were my two most played modes in Gears 2. Gears 3 comes along. I didn't really play Wingman that much. Gears 4 Wingman's not even there. There's a lot of people asking for it though. Do you guys think it's worth bringing back in?
I thought it was very unique to Gears, and it was cool. I think their reasoning was that the population numbers weren't there, but at the very least, I would like to see some sort of doubles playlist. Like, I really like Brothers to the End playlist, just you, a buddy against two. So, you know, whether it be Wingman or just another Brothers to the End playlist, some sort of doubles game type would be very welcomed by me.
I think it should definitely be in private matches.
Okay.
But and maybe in like a grab bag. Well, no, grab bag would be difficult with a 2v playlist, but like online, like you were saying, the population numbers just weren't showing it as worth returning. So as much support as it has on like the forums and Reddit and stuff, I don't know if it's worth making a new playlist for.
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of people's love for it is rooted mostly in nostalgia for the fact that it was a thing that we had and it was taken away from us, sort of feeling. And you know, maybe that's why we say the same thing about FFA, even though that's not necessarily the case, because I think there's a larger argument that could be made for solo queuing players. But I do know I played a ton of BTTE in Gears 3, and a 2v2 playlist was really solid. But I think it's like a difference of opinion in like casual and competitive. Like 2v2s can get really sweaty really quick, you know. But like but Wingman, I don't really ever think was like intended to be a sweaty mode. I think it was just intended to be something that was for casual play, but could be, you know, it comes down to eventually, you know, who's last standing sort of a situation. But a lot of things happen in terms of like number of players. Like in Gears 2, you had X amount of teams versus Gears 3, you had one less amount of teams. And so it plays totally different, you know, between those two games. Like Gears 2 was really frantic. Gears 3 was kind of kind of boring. And so I don't know. It's a situation where like I would love to see it back in the game, but I would prefer to see Brothers to the End in the game over that.
Would you like to see that as like a permanent addition, or just them having the availability to do that as like special events or something?
Personally, permanent for me. I know that the population size isn't there comparatively, but at the same time, you're only searching in parties of 2, so I don't know if it necessarily needs to have the same amount of players as TDM to justify its existence. So I would love to see a Brothers to the End permanently in there. I was pretty sad when it got removed.
Yeah, I agree. Brothers to the End permanent. Wingman, more of a maybe like a this month. We have this new mode kind of rotated in sort of thing. I would be fine with that, and I think a lot of people would be excited to play it. But I think it comes down to how many teams do you want on the map, and a few other factors as to like why it would really need to warrant a full-time playlist.
Is that what you liked about Brothers to the End? Was that it was just two teams on the map?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's because of the fact that it's a lot more focused on like what the end goal is, and you can't just get screwed over by like a random team joining in a fight necessarily. Like it's just you and your friend versus him.
Hey, it's like you said, you got to be aware.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like it's different because it's still think about
you gotta pick your fights.
Well, think about like 4v4 and 5v5 gears. Like there's still only ever 2 teams, and
that's
so now
right.
whenever all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's 4 teams or there's more, like then it starts to get really chaotic for sure. And so I think it'd be fun like in an action sack type of thing, but I don't necessarily know if.
But then what about free for all though? That's even more chaotic. There's more teams.
True. But I think there's a difference because
you can't have it both ways.
Specifically with the mindset of like I am fighting alone. I am not fighting with a friend, and I'm going to get screwed over from random team that is joining a fight out of nowhere, and basically was just kind of sandbagging on the fact that they're going to clean it up.
Yeah, I mean it's the 2 extremes there. You have the 2 teams or the no teams thing, and then Wingman is kind of just in the middle.
I'm personally a fan of Wingman.
I think they should at least
Brothers to the End, just because. With Brothers to the End, it was a TDM, and I don't know, it kind of took forever.
I personally preferred
get rid of all their
as well. I prefer.
That's true. It was a TDM for Brothers to the End, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If they changed it to execution,
Especially
so that kind of moves into the next game type was 2v2 Nashers. It was 2v2 execution.
Which existed at one point. Right?
That was in Ultimate Edition.
Yeah, it was Ultimate Edition. That was the best edition.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. I mean, it was just on boxes and it was Nashers only, but I really enjoyed that.
Bring back boxes. Bring back boxes.
If they were to bring something like that back, 2v2 execution, do you think it should be something like boxes where it's Nashers only, or do you think it should be a like legit 2v2 execution?
Nope. The maps are. I think the maps are too big.
That was my thought. Is the maps are too big.
The maps are definitely big. I think if we're going to talk permanent playlists, I would personally prefer to just have like 2v2 maps as is, weapons as is, because you could potentially get like competitive value out of that. But I definitely think like the Nasher boxes mode and the Wingman mode that Typo was talking about are things that should be like showing up on a month-to-month basis because clearly people like them and they're fun. So,
yeah, I think boxes. The inception of it is not that it's meant to be this like competitive merit mode where you're learning how to use a lot of the different guns. It's solely really for warm up,
Yeah, and that's how it originated, was warm up. But like,
yeah,
I found myself playing it a ton just because I was having fun with it.
Yeah, but I will say there were some issues I think with kind of the map. Like I don't agree with the fact that there were just sandbags at the beginning of the spawn.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, no, it definitely had its.
Well,
flaws.
then add in the hill at the end.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things they could have done though to
stalemate.
make it better, because I hated having to be the aggressor and push a fight where I feel like I'm at a disadvantage because they just sat in their spawn.
Yeah, I don't think boxes should necessarily return. I think 2v2 Nasher execution and have Coalition develop a new map around that would be interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let's see. So what other modes do we have?
So hold on. So if you had a choice between 2v2 execution, Brothers to the End, or Wingman, what would you guys pick?
So Brothers to the End is TDM, right? Like I just want to make sure I don't get confused.
Yes.
I think execution, because the problem with Brothers to the End is just the idea that if you win the initial, it's a lot easier to get that rolling and get power weapons and kill people. King of the Hill might even be kind of cool, give you an objective, and boxes maybe on every 3 months it shows up or something. Personally,
yeah. I like the 2v2 Nasher execution thing.
I would say Brothers to the End, but I would want it to play like execution.
Oh, okay. So
we
not
play 2v2 in rounds.
Okay.
Yeah, 2v2
I
execution.
think, Chris, that's what you would want, right?
Yeah, 2v2 execution.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. These last previous game modes, I think, might go pretty quickly. Submission and capture the leader. I honestly, I loved both of those modes. I was in the vast minority there, but I loved both of those. I don't think we'll be seeing them come back.
It just sucks when like the meat flag would kind of go to one side of the map. It's like, why are you favoring their team?
Yeah.
True, that's true too.
Assassination.
Best Guardian type game type of all time.
You think
I
so?
think a
That is
lot
my
of these,
unpopular Gears opinion.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Assassination.
I think a lot of these modes, like Meat Flag and stuff, are essentially just fillers for the fact that the elephant in the room is that CTF does not work in this game.
So let's go to that one. Breakthrough. They had CTF in
2 seconds for assassination. Okay.
Assassination's great. I don't think it's coming back.
Just hey, your leader died. You failed your mission.
Winning, yeah.
Round's over. You failed
Very
the objective.
demoralizing.
Typo, did you ever play Breakthrough?
CTF doesn't work
Did you ever play
very
what?
well.
Breakthrough?
Yeah, in Judgment.
Or Breakout, whatever it was called.
On Halo?
Yeah, Breakout and Judgment, I think.
No, in Judgment, Chris.
Oh.
Yeah. They had,
Yes, I did play
They
it.
had CTF. It was Capture the Flag.
Well,
world am I
wasn't there like there was like a breakout, which was like the opposite of it, right? Where
So, all right, yeah.
there's a neutral and the
They had, in private matches, it was a toggle. So you could make it so that you had to go get their flag and bring it back to your base. Or they had the, like, search and destroy type one where it was like you go plant the flag or something like that, I think. It was all recent ones.
I thought it had to be, I could be wrong. I thought it had to be where, like, it's essentially a one flag objective game. You have to go grab it and just keep relaying back to your base. But the catch is that flag had to be at home to score or something like that. I can't quite remember.
for breakthrough, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But regardless,
there was the opposite where it was a neutral flag, and you actually had to. It was basically a bomb. It was a neutral bomb game type. Like you actually had to deliver it to the enemy team. Enemy base.
You had to rush it into their base.
Yeah, but that was only
so basically like assault. Like assault from Halo, essentially.
Yep. Yeah. Neutral.
So yeah, I mean, I think the issue with that ultimately was these are neutral or one side objective modes, and so a lot of the question is like, well, why didn't we just have CTF? Why didn't we just have 2 flags?
Because they tried to Gearsify it.
And the thing is,
they tried it in Judgment. That was the problem.
The reason that it could even somewhat work in Judgment was because of the verticality of the maps. Like, I honestly think the fact that you could have high ground and be able to shoot down essentially over cover at certain spots on the map to stop the flag runner was the only reason it even kind of worked. Because like the thing I always would bring up in terms of CTF in like a classic Gears format is imagine playing Dry Dock and you rushing into base, grabbing a flag, and then basically making it top middle of the map. Like, there's absolutely no way you can shoot up and stop the person. Like, once they get up your steps, they're gone. Like, that's it. As soon as they grab and they get across that courtyard, essentially right to the steps, there's no way you can stop them because of the way the framework of the game is. Like, you can't shoot down over cover. You'd have to basically make like a valley to where you can lancer down and stop the flag runner. There's no way you can shoot up, over those covers. So as soon as they round corner, that's it. It's a guaranteed cap.
I was gonna say, like, but can't you just take the middle? Like, you can take the bridge at Dry Dock, and then you can shoot down at them as they're trying to get to their home base. I mean, there's a point where it's like if they're too close to their home base, it's almost inevitable unless you get some miraculous like team wipe.
Yeah, like it's inevitable they're gonna cap. Like pretty much if you get slayed out, they pull out of your base and then they get up past like even to the first box, because you know how there's like a little box or there's like some piece of cover that you could stop on like on the steps. Mm-hmm. If they round that corner at the box, that's it. They're just gonna heal up and then they're gonna continue to run the flag.
But maybe it's less of an issue with the game type than it is with just the way Gears has designed their maps and the way they design their spawns. So I think if that fundamentally changes in Gears 5, where there's more variance with where you can spawn, and that the maps aren't designed so that, like you're saying, once you're at a halfway point, it's game. If they do that, then I think suddenly these options that were not viable now become viable. I don't know exactly what it takes to get that done, but that's something they should definitely consider, because I think they're limited by the fact that they only have like the 2 spawns on the map. So
yeah, I 100% agree, and I think that's kind of the problem, is we're really pigeonholed into like the amount of modes that can and can't work in our game. But like, what would you prefer? Would you prefer that they make more vertical maps and they change up like traditionally how spawns are just for the sake of getting a mode like CTF to work, or would you prefer that they stick to what like a classic Gears feels like? We've had a lot of changes, from each game, but like, at some point you have to like kind of ask like, okay, if they really just go all in and change this up, is it Gears anymore? Is kind of the question.
And that was kind of my question is, do we even like, so we're talking about how a capture the flag mode could work. Do we want a capture the flag mode?
Do you want it that badly?
I'd rather have an assault, like a bomb, where, because like how you said, Typo, like with capture the flag, like once they're past the halfway point in Gears, it's basically inevitable. You can kind of delay it, but I mean, they're going to capture the flag at that point. But like with an assault, I mean, like, do you think it'll play different? Like, do you think
assault would be they have to like push forward to your to your spawn?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because at that point you have to force another fight. You can win the initial, and you got to force one. So yeah, I think it's a good idea, and they should definitely try it, because the issue with CTF would be that you're just booking it the other way, and that's pretty much it. So
because there's ultimately parts of the map that are walled off that like we can't roll off of, or we can't shoot over, and we have to make a route around to get to that point of the map. Like, it's not like we can just step over certain objects, and so it really kind of sets you in set lanes in which you can run the flag, and you just like when they added sprint to Halo, it changed a lot of the timing of like how quickly you get across the map. It became a random element almost of like, well, it took 10 seconds, but now you can get across in 7. And so like internally you can't calculate how long it's going to take. But like Gears, if we're always sprinting and let's negate the fact of rolling is faster in Gears 2 and running. But like,
that took skill to get to Gridlock.
But like you know how long it's going to take someone typically, even if they've got like crap movement, it's probably only going to take them X amount of time to get from point A to point B, and then at that point in your head you're like, that's it, that's a cap. There's no possible way I can stop that unless I have like a hammer of dawn.
But to Dodger's point originally, I mean, imagine you're on dry dock, because if we're talking assault, you go up, you lose your initial assault pretty badly, the other team gets the bomb, and then you respawn and you can fortify and you have a chance to kill them, and if you kill them, they're going to have the same opportunity you did. So that kind of eliminates the issue of they're 5 seconds ahead, and therefore there is no point.
Let's talk about a bomb game type then. So,
hold on before we segue into that, because I'm still really curious on this assault. So whenever
I guess that's what I meant by bomb game type was assault.
Whenever you move,
that's like you don't want to segue into it, but you're
no. It's a difference. It's a difference of the way in which you move the objective. So, in Halo you interact with like an actual flag that you have to toss. Regardless of Halo 4, but you have to toss the flag, and you're actually having to like move it across the map. But then like Call of Duty, you just touch the flag and then you book it. Like, would you prefer if we're moving a bomb or if we were moving a flag in the situation, whatever it is, the neutral objective? Like, would you prefer that it's something we have to interact with?
Yes.
Or would you prefer that it just somehow magnetizes to your back and you just carry it into the base?
It's carrying a resonator.
Oh, so basically, do you hold it like a bomb, or can you do it like and you can still shoot?
Right. Yeah, like for instance, that section in like Gears 2, I think's campaign where like you both have to hold on to like this big crate, and you're like having to both work together to like move it. I think that's like not the best example, but it's like, should it be something like when you pick up an oddball in Halo or a flag in Halo, like you're slowed down? It's like a physical thing you can interact with. Like, could you imagine again, like on dry dock, I pick up the bomb in the middle of the map, like middle bridge, and then I can like drop it to bottom bridge. Like, is that a thing?
I think that is a really good point, and I'm not set on anything, but I was kind of thinking like, they have this whole thrash ball sport in Gears. It'd be kind of cool if maybe you did have to pick it up like a bomb, and you had the opportunity to throw it at your teammate somewhere else to kind of add to that like team play dynamic. And
so now we're just talking
like
about making a thrash ball game type.
Well, it's like kind of like
though.
a bomb game type, just like essentially the same. Just get the ball to the end of the side, but you can toss it to each other, and it adds an interesting element.
A lot of sports are bomb game types if you think about it.
pretty much, yeah.
It's kind of like Griff Ball because it's like the ball was a bomb, and then you deliver it and it explodes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my thing would be you can't roadie run. It's a weapon, so you can't shoot when you have it. I would say you can probably take cover, but you just can't roadie run.
I'd say you can't slide to cover, or your slip distance is significantly reduced.
Yeah.
So you can't wall bounce essentially.
I just wonder if it'd be too hard though for like at the competitive level of play if you have 5 players who have full leeway to do whatever movement they want, and then you got 4 players who can help you out and one person who's kind of obsolete and you're having to push forward.
Yeah, but you should still be able to drop it. You can drop it and you can shoot.
So
and then there'll be like a timer for it to reset.
So it would be kind of like trying to move like the mortar on the map essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, I think it could be interesting for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Would you want a bomb game type or an assault type game type to have respawns, or would you want that single life,
like a search and destroy,
style thing?
I want to try both, to be honest.
Yeah.
Gears 5 beta.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know a lot of competitive people seem to want that search and destroy style thing. I think I would prefer a respawn mode just because I'm a more casual player.
I think if it's gonna be a thing where we have to move it like a mortar, you're gonna probably have to have spawns.
Yeah.
Because you essentially you might get it to the end of the bridge and that's it. I
mean, you could have a competitive search and destroy where one team's on offense, one team's on defense, and you can have the respawn one where it's just neutral, a neutral bomb game type.
Yeah, there's definitely variations that I think they should tinker with as well. Because like for me too, like the non-respawn game types are exciting because you have one life, you can't screw up or you're out. But then the respawn games are exciting because you're going to see people do risky things that maybe they wouldn't have done, and you're going to see some crazy plays and constant action. So there's pluses to both and minuses to both. I think they should both be tested.
I think honestly it would be interesting to have this neutral objective thing where you're slow when you're carrying it, you have to deliver it to the enemy team's base, but then to add an extra level to that dynamic, you kind of have if you've played Battlefield or similar type games where you guys can control certain outposts and that's where you're able to spawn. If there's something on the map so that your team can essentially dominate different parts of the map so that you don't have to always spawn at your base, you can control different parts of the map so your team can spawn in different locations, and that will... So you have to balance, do I want to try to progress the bomb further and protect the bomb, or do I want to try and move up and like take control of this next location so that my team can dominate that area? It's kind of like a ground war type thing where how much of the map do you control, and that's where you can spawn.
I mean, I don't think the maps are big enough for that, and
I guess it's like, think of dry dock. Do you want to have the ability to spawn up top on the bridge?
Well, I'm never a supporter of TDM spawning. So like you're only spawning in your base. I like the quarter, half, not maybe not halfway, but unless you do control the entire map.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Is like, how do you determine if you control that part of the map, or is there an easy way other than like, oh, your team's pushed up really far, you can spawn anywhere on that part of the map you guys control, or are there actually like certain spots that someone can go capture and say, okay,
like
now
a zone.
Zone. My team now owns this zone. We're able to spawn here.
Definitely be interesting. I'm open to it. And anything to kind of spice up the diversity of gameplay. It kind of sounds like what Guardian was trying to do, but a way more explicit. And I don't know, maybe it'll work with the maps. I just think of like Foundation. Maybe you want your team to spawn by the boom. Maybe you want to spawn by the torque. But I don't know.
I think it would be interesting to have a mode. I don't know what the objective would be, but a mode where your team controls these different zones and you actually get to choose your spawn location. Let's see. Any other like future game types that you guys can think of? Types of modes that you would like to see?
Battle
Not
Royale.
off the top of my head.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Battle Royale. A giant map where the
Just
krill,
one.
yeah, have the krill close in over time.
You know, it'd be
Yep,
pretty
Curl
funny
Storm.
if they did a spin on free for all where you only have one life every round, and and it was like first to like 2 or 3 I don't know, where
Honestly,
you
that
literally
would be such a simple
So
change
basically
to
like a
free-for-all.
free-for-all execution.
Yeah, free for all.
yeah,
execution.
exactly.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah, I don't know, it'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Another thing to throw in for a fun event.
Yeah, it was like when you talk about the Krill Storm, I actually had like a concept for Tyro Station to have that type of feature where like it's just a Krill Storm around it, but then like it keeps on coming in.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like
Oh,
the
neat.
flood in Gears 2 or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, the map's called Flood,
Yeah,
right?
Flood
Where it like
Yep.
condensed everyone to a certain location. I mean,
for execution in Warzone. Yeah.
if you had like, I mean, they could make 1 or 2 maps that are just a lot larger, and you could have, I don't know, 30 people spawn in on this map, and then have it condensed down to like a much smaller area over time for a battle royale type thing. That would be, I don't know, I would love that. I think.
Our minds have been tainted by Fortnite
Dude,
and PUBG.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Battle Royale would necessarily work in this game. I know a lot of people have made the complaint too, like, why don't we just have like 16 versus 16 craziness? And it's like, because Lancers are strong. Like,
Yeah.
people want to be able to
16
move.
Lancers, insta-down.
Yeah, like,
guess
you want to be able to move is
we-
the biggest thing.
So,
It'd be weird,
Like
too.
battle royale is a big thing right now, but
Yeah.
then like each one has their own little thing. PUBG's more realistic. Fortnite is cartoony but has construction and building, which I personally
Makes it
love.
so much
but
better.
there's no like cover based or really like intimate team battle royale thing that like Gears kind of could take that spot.
But you're talking like
I mean,
tons of
if
players.
they make it like a 25 instead of like 100 players, but like this.
5 teams of 20 or 5 teams of 5. Not 5 teams of 20.
He's a 20.
No, five teams of 5 spawn in on a big map or something like that. I don't
Then
know.
it's basically like Wingman on crack.
Yeah, yeah. There we
Hey,
go.
Yeah, a little bit.
Sometimes
yeah,
that's a good
it's kind of
thing.
out of the scope. I think it's funny, but it's just out of the scope. I don't think they should
Yeah.
be making dedicated maps to a specific.
Though a free for all execution type of playlist
Would be cool.
Would be
Free-for-all
kind of cool.
execution
Yeah.
would be
Yeah,
It
Also,
would have that. It would have that battle royale.
also to touch on the free for all bit would be that the way that the scoring was done in Judgment, in my opinion, wasn't ideal as to how I'd like to see scoring done in an FFA. Even in like Call of Duty, like I played a lot of Call of Duty Black Ops 2 FFA. Honestly, I got like Master Prestige or whatever it was in that game, mostly from probably playing like 70% FFA and then like 30% league play, and to that you still had to play to like 30 kills or something like that. And so I feel like it kind of negates a lot of people's mentality of like, I could
Oh
just,
yeah, you want the time limit, right?
yeah, like oh well, he's 7 kills ahead of me, he only needs 2 more to win, like there's no point in even trying. And I would see that a lot. I would literally just see people start trying to trick shot or just stand in spawn and not even, and I knew they were playing. It wasn't like they were AFK the whole game because you would get kicked, but like, they just wouldn't try anymore because they felt like there's no way I'm possibly bringing this back. I'm not going to get this W. But like the way Halo FFAs used to be was the fact that it went to a timer and you would basically see people slay it out to the last second. And I have honestly won an FFA before by getting like a Kilimanjaro out of nowhere. Just it lined up so perfectly for me, and then I'm down like 6 kills. I end up being up by 1 with like a second remaining, and like that's insane. The fact that people were trying up to the last possible second. I always
so you
felt
want
that
it to
was
be time based.
beautiful. Yeah, I would love for the game. I wouldn't want it to be insane amount of time, like 15-minute rounds or 12-minute rounds. I would think like 7 minutes or even 10 max.
Well,
would
I
be,
mean,
like,
go
fine.
look.
I was
let
thinking
them-
more like 3 or 4.
Well, no, I'm saying let them play with a 25 kill limit for a while. Like internally, they test the 25 kill limit, see what the average time is for someone to reach that 25, and just
Yeah,
round that off, make that the time limit of the round or of the game.
yeah,
These guys
Lots
need
of
to
ways
hire
you can take
chaps.
Right?
But yeah, I think that would
Over-engineering
be
the
the best
script.
way to approach it, because then the matches aren't too long; they're pretty short and sweet. But like you still have people trying, because there's nothing worse than like when people just aren't trying at all in a match.
I think there is
Yes.
some positive in having that goal, that limit, that objective for someone to go after. But I do see where you're coming from. I don't know which one I would prefer, but I think I see positives in each
Yeah,
way.
another thing I think other games have done is something like a win by two, where like if you both are at like 24, then you're not going to get it by who reaches 26 or 25 first. You got to find who reaches 26 because you got to go by win by two,
Yeah, that'd
and then
be
you like
interesting.
run out of time. But then it gets confusing because then it's like, well, we both have 32 kills right now, and this game was supposed to end at 25,
Yeah.
and so yeah,
And I do kind of like that like clutch feeling though. It's like that guy's 24 and you're down by a couple and you get like a triple kill and it's like, yes, I beat him last second. You don't want to
Yeah.
have to like go up another one. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways you could spin it.
right, of course. But yeah, I think FFA is like the biggest want for sure. A thing I suggested long before Gears 4 was out was something called JackPot,
Oh
which
yeah,
was really crazy.
I forgot about that one.
But see, the funny thing about it is like elements of that suggestion are essentially what escalation is, because the idea was that you were going to have set rotating hill spawns, but then they swap between like ABC, DEF, and that's exactly what we got out of escalation, which I thought was kind of neat. Thanks for stealing my idea, gosh.
Hey,
but no, it
hey,
actually played
dodgeball
like
idea. I mean, come on.
it played like a mode from Halo Reach or Halo 4. God, I can't remember. I'm old. There
Is
was
the
a
game good or
mode.
bad?
There was a competitive mode that was played where essentially you had to push an objective, interact with said objective, and then hold off that objective from like waves of respawning enemies for a set amount of time. And
Reach.
that's what JackPot. The idea was that you would both spawn. You would try and fight over a neutral objective. You would have to stop what you were doing essentially for like a set amount of time, so like 5 seconds to interact with the. It wasn't a bomb. It was literally a JackBot. You'd interact with Jack, and then he would start doing some sort of process like, I don't know, mining for something or ripping a door or whatever. And then you'd have to hold that off from the other team for, say, a minute. So you basically had to attack and defend.
What was that mode in Destiny? It's a lot like Salvage. Is that what it was called in
Yeah,
Destiny?
salvage. Yep.
Interesting. Well, that's funny too because Bungie, made if it was a Reach game mode, Bungie made it. If it was a Halo 4 game, obviously 343 did. But regardless, yeah. So you interact with the objective. The other team can interact with the
it was
objective
Halo
as
4.
well. But once they take the objective back, the timer starts over for them too. But the beauty of it was, I can't quite remember everything within the video now, but I had figured out a way for it to not end in any stalemates. And so that would have been the nicest thing, because that's obviously the competitive issue before escalation was that execution just ended in stalemates. And so hey, here's a way that we can
So what
interact.
happens if they don't do the objective?
That's a good question, but
That's
feel
a
like you
stalemate,
have-
right?
I
Because
feel like you have to win. You can't get like points by killing. So
Well, there's a lot of people who don't play the objective and they just go for
Wow.
kills. So.
just have a
then
time
then I
limit on
think
the match.
well then ultimately all that would happen is like it would be like nobody capped a flag, but that would be insane because the match would go on for 15 minutes or so and you would literally just end in a tie 0-0. But the objectives did not take that long to cap. You would have somebody cap one, and it wasn't too crazy far-fetched. Like I said, it was already a proven game type that had worked in another game, so it
Yeah.
wasn't like I was just throwing out crazy ideas like, yeah, we could do this. That's no, it had at least had clout somewhere and had worked before.
What are your thoughts on game modes where there's an objective, but killing also adds to your score? Destiny definitely did this one, where it was like the more, I think it was on Control, the more hills you captured, the more points you got per kill.
Yep,
Right.
100
Towards the
for
total
one, 200 for two.
Yeah. Do you think that would be nice because it would allow people to, like, the Slayers to play their, like, TDM style game, they just go for their kills, but then really if your team wants to succeed, you also need to have that objective play.
Yeah, I think it could work because of the fact that we already have maps that are already built within Gears 4 that have 3 hills on it, because that's the main staple. You need 3 zones to capture. So we already have maps that work for it.
Yeah.
And really all it is, it weighs less on the points you're accruing from capturing the hills. Like there is no 3 hill domination effect where you just win the round. You only play 1 round, and then by having 2 or all 3 hills, then you're getting 3 times the amount of kills per each kill. So you're getting 3 points for 1 kill essentially if you have all 3. And so then it just you speed up the game, and you can win very quickly if you're getting 3 times the amount of points per each kill. So I think it could work.
Yeah, I think that'd be an interesting mode for them to try out.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any other game modes you guys can think of?
I can't think of. I think we covered a lot. I just think that one thing that I think is important for the coalition to think about and people in the community is that we talked a lot about game types that would, have a really good chance competitively. But I think we need to also focus on casual game types that people can hop on and just enjoy for fun. And I think their special events playlist does a great job of that. But we need some permanent stuff. Dodgeball was a good step forward. Free for all would help. And we just need to focus more on the casual kind of gameplay because
So Horde will probably stay most likely, but what about Beast mode? What about Beast mode?
I was thinking about that actually, and so there was Overrun, and obviously Overrun requires its own maps.
Overrun, yeah.
It was undoable, but Beast mode can actually be used with the maps that are for multiplayer. So they should consider doing a mode where one team can take control of the Beast and the other team plays just as the humans for 12 rounds or whatever it is. I think that would be fun. There just needs to be some casual stuff. If I, as somebody who loves playing competitively, a lot of the time I'm feeling burnt out on the game because it just requires so much time, skill, and energy, then something's not right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you really hit it. There's a lot of changes that could be made to some competitive modes to make them better. They're in a really good spot right now. We really need some sort of grab bag playlist that has a lot of the more casual, fun games. Right now, I find there's a lot of times that I want to go play Gears, but I don't want to get super sweaty, or there's modes I don't really feel like playing. A grab bag thing would be a great place to go relax.
Yeah, exactly.
I want a grab bag playlist where the wall to get to cover, there's no distance requirement, so you can go across the map.
that'd be hilarious. They should try it, or everyone's crab walking or something. Just
yeah. That would actually be really cool, man. Because there's been similar things where you have 1,000% movement speed or something like that.
They can change the slip distance in Gears 4 right now. They're doing it in the competitive thing. Yeah.
Wow,
we need to talk to Liam or something. Be like, yo, this needs to be a special event.
I want to play Dodgers mode right now. The idea of just slipping to the other side of the map and people being elastic bands.
Well, all right. I think that's all the big topics we want to hit on today. There's obviously a lot more to discuss between playlist organization, private match options, all these random awesome grab bag ideas. So I think we'll save that for another video. But anyone watching this, if you guys have topics you want us to talk about in the future, be sure to leave them below. Thanks again for joining you guys. Let's go around one more time. Do same order. So Typo, I guess start with you. Just say whatever you want. Where can people find you online?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to say whatever I want. Please don't find me online. No, my @'s @typographic. I really only check Twitter, so don't hit me up with any requests to get on Snapchat or follow you on Instagram. It's not going to happen. But thanks for having me on. Definitely a lot of fun talking with these guys about these topics. So I'm going to pass it on to the next person.
Okay, I think that was me. So I'm Chris. I do have a Snapchat, and I'm, if you want to add me up, just let me know. I send great snaps. I'm on YouTube and Twitter. My handle is Modded Talent. Check it out if you like videos about tips you like to improve or just discussion-based videos. Always a pleasure to join these kinds of discussions. So, yeah, thanks for having me as well.
Yep.
@FellBlueDodger. Dodger. You can find on YouTube. You can find me at Tac-Com sometimes.
Yep, sometimes. All right, yeah, and as always, down in the description, I'll have links to all their channels and fun stuff. So make sure you go follow them. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more of these discussions. I plan to have a lot more of them. So thanks again for joining me, guys. Thanks for everyone out there watching, and I'll catch you next time.
Boop.